What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Comics and Cold Ones, episode 28-ish, I think. JP here with you tonight, and as always, my brother in crime, Pope Grimy.
What's up, comic book community? Cheers! We have an awesome guest with us tonight.
We do indeed. I actually got to have a beer now because it's at the extra hour I can drink. So I know it thanks to Bob for that. So speaking of Bob, I'll go ahead and segue into our guest tonight. We have Mr. Bob Salley from the Ogre comic.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to drinking and talking comics.
That's right.
Yeah.
Pinot Noir here.
And along with us, Bob surprised me with an extra guest tonight. So we got Mr. Shawn Daley, the artist on Ogre as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. If I'm facing this way, it's just because I'm working. It's not because I hate any of you. Just.
Hey, you know what? We've spent a lot of time with artists, so most of them have done work while hanging out with us. So
okay, cool.
We don't know what we're used to being ignored. We understand.
Excellent.
As long as you show us a little insight here and there, we'll appreciate that.
Like,
yeah, I'll give some sneak peeks.
Yeah, we love
sneaks. Never before seen.
So everyone's having a good night tonight. Everyone's doing well.
Yeah. So far, so good.
Hey, speaking of Samantha Branch, she is in the chat tonight.
Yes, she is.
So we got a few people different tonight. So we got. You guys might know, you guys probably should know Andy from Indie Spotlight series over on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So he's in the chat tonight. It's good to see him. We got Richard Smith, Mr. Gretzky. Are you a hockey fan, Mr. Daley?
I'll watch the league games when they're on, so that's about as far as I go with that.
I love hockey. It's my personally my favorite sport. That's probably because I spent majority of my adulthood living on the Canadian border up in North Dakota.
Oh yeah, so you had no choice then, basically.
Yeah, I was hockey or nothing, right? So
I was born in Michigan, so as soon as I came out the womb, they just gave me like a Red Wings jersey. In fact, that's what they slid into me. When I came out, I slid into a little onesie Red Wings jersey.
So this week we had the release of Ogre #3. This is the conclusion of this arc, correct?
Yep, that's right. Ogre #3. You can see the beautiful artwork of the man Shawn Daley right there. This is a lot of people's favorite covers. It's my favorite cover. One of the things I love about this cover is when I started doing comics, I always watched all these artists who had sketch covers at their table. But being a writer, you're like, I don't have sketch covers. I don't need sketch covers because I don't know how to draw. But when we went over, like Shawn gave us, like, what'd you do? Like 4 or 5 different variations of this cover. And we all agreed like that this one right here was like the best. And not for the reason like that I'm going to talk about right now. But I thought after we decided, I was like, this is a perfect cover because now look at all this room that Shawn can draw in when he's at conventions.
I was just thinking that actually.
Yeah.
Like
so he doesn't even need sketch covers.
No, that's right.
That's perfect. You can do little remarks and stuff in there for the fans. That'd be cool.
Yeah, little thought bubbles and stuff. Yeah.
There you go. Oh my God, dude, that's thought bubbles. That's perfect.
Yeah.
What you thinking about in this moment right now, Mr. Ogre?
You got blood on his hands. You got a cross. Yeah, I haven't got a chance to read #3 because I don't have a.
I'm never gonna get away with it.
Right. I don't have an LCS close enough to me that I can go visit on a regular, so I do everything through the mail and through the YouTube community. A lot of people like Mr. Brandon Stawinski. He's up there in your area. So, and is it Michigan? Where Source Point is at?
Yes, I'm actually in Boston. Source Point Press is in they're in Detroit, Michigan.
Yeah, so he's up in that area. So he got me an Ogre #3 as well. So I'm excited because I know it's sold out already.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm really glad. Like today's Thursday, so yesterday was like the day that most people got their, the final issue to this 3-issue miniseries, and I think it's just been one of these because this is the first time we've done this where we're launching a book, or at least for me, I would do things through Kickstarter, and then you could immediately talk about it to people because they're getting it, whether it's digitally or in print. but this has been something where like Shawn and I finished this. I mean, issue 1 hit. It was solicited in August previews. I think Shawn, you finished this thing in like June.
Yeah.
So since June, like you can't really talk about it. You know,
Sure.
you have this book that's coming together, but you can't talk about it. And then it's you're pushing it for people to pre-order it through Previews World. So that's like the first part. Then you find out that shops have it. So then you're pushing, the shops that have it on their shelves while you're also pushing the next issue in Previews World. And then it's like this ongoing cycle. And then the whole time you can't talk about it because people haven't read the conclusion of it. But it's been a pretty cool trip, like where you can talk about people who you can talk about issue 1 and where that went, and then issue 2. So it's been fun. But now, it's like when a week, like next week, we can talk about it completely. Like when Game of Thrones came out, and it was like you have to wait until Friday to actually talk about the episode that came out on Sunday night. You have to give everybody a week to like go back to their DVR and watch it. So
yeah, we have that kind of with like obviously comic book movies and things of that nature. You gotta give everyone their allotted time to make sure everyone has seen it so you don't spoil anything. Well, the ending to number 2, and that's where I'm at because I just got number 2 last week because of the weird shipping on these 2 books. As far as I wasn't expecting number 3 till like January, right? So
number 3 wasn't supposed to come out until next week.
Yeah.
So surprise.
You learn, yeah.
But it's a good surprise. So really quick, there's a question for you in the chat. Well, for Shawn, it says, "What's your favorite maple syrup?"
I feel like that should be an easy question to answer, but it's not because I guess I'm one of those weird Canadians who don't eat a lot or use a lot of maple syrup. So I wish I had a better.
The question for Shawn is, what's your favorite cereal?
Cereal.
It's Fruity Pebbles.
Count chocolate.
I imagine that Shawn goes out and buys like the variety pack of like the little thing, where you have like 6 different little boxes of.
I used to do those. I used to do that a lot, and then I got in trouble for eating all the Frosted Flakes and leaving all the Rice Krispies, so I stopped doing that. Yeah, I go with Count Chocula whenever I can find it, but here in Canada, that's a seasonal thing, so you can only get it on Halloween.
All right, guys.
Thing where I'm at now.
The way to Shawn's heart.
Now we know what to bring Shawn at conventions, family.
Oh, please. I'll be forever grateful.
What about Cocoa Pebbles? Is that like
we don't have those here?
See, I think Cocoa Pebbles is like almost the same as Count Chocula.
No, not even close. Count Chocula has the marshmallows.
Oh, it does? I thought Count Chocula was like I don't know.
Yeah.
We got at least 3 Canadians in the chat right now. So we got 4-Way Flashers says he's from Ontario. He doesn't like maple syrup either.
Hey, there you go. Thank you.
Samantha Branch wants to know what part of Canada, which I believe you are in Toronto, you said? So
I'm in Toronto, yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Hey, Bueller, thanks for stopping in.
We also got 4-Way Flashers in the chat.
Yeah, you got Richard Smith. Any relation to Jason Smith? Just curious.
Smith is in the chat, along with NES Masters 80. So,
yeah, if you guys have any questions for our guest tonight, be sure to just throw them up there. I'll just kind of go through the thing really quick. In the description, I put all the social media for Trevor, for Bob, and for Source Point Press. Of course, I put Pope and I's stuff in there as well. So, you have anything? Obviously, we know Ogre. So is Ogre? This is just more of a personal question. Is number 3 going to be the end? Like, obviously, I haven't read number 3 yet, so I don't know how it ends. But is there going to be more Ogre down the line?
There's going to be more Ogres.
Okay.
So yeah, I think we I think it was a mutual decision. And I think Source Point Press editor-in-chief Travis McIntyre kind of agreed to that instead of continuing this story on, let's do another story that's in the same world, and with kind of like the way I looked at it, kind of was like Alien and Aliens. Alien was like that horror story, and then Aliens was like that action story, and of course it was like a continuation, but it was almost like it didn't have to be. So and Shawn, when Shawn and I met, we were in at Expo Canada, Fan Expo Canada, and we were talking, and he was like, we were both like, let's do another one, and he was like more like fantasy creatures to draw. So that was like, all right, that's going to be fun. So it was like trying to more like where like I think Ogre was like more pinpointed into one character. We're going to do a story called Ogres, and I don't want to give too much away because we are just like in the midst of conceptualizing the story. Things could change.
Mm-hmm.
But, it was more like, this is more like broad. It's there's more characters.
Okay.
So it's we're visiting a little bit more different things, and it's going to be a different story, different characters, but in the same world. Shawn, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I agree that I think that would be it will be a really fun story to work on, especially based on what I've read already from what Bob has. So yeah, it should be pretty bananas.
Next up, I want to see The Kraken by Bob and Shawn. I'll just pitch you ideas. You guys can do the rest. So do you have any other books coming out that you guys collaborated on, or is this kind of it, or individually? I guess there's a question in the chat that kind of want to know what's next for you guys with Source Point Press.
Well, Shawn and I both have different things that we've worked on separately. Shawn, I'll let you go ahead because you actually have a bunch of things coming out this year with Source Point Press.
Yeah, the next thing that I have with Source Point, I believe, is it's an untitled book, but I'm just doing all the character concepts right now for it. It's written by Fred Kennedy, who is a local guy here in Toronto who does some radio programming, and he's a really, really good comic book writer. So I'm looking forward to working with him. And then I'm working on another project at the same time called A Better Place, which is it's about like a young child who loses his grandfather, and he doesn't really. His family says that Grandpa went away. So the kid goes on this adventure to try and find his grandfather. It's like a really sweet slice of life type story, but also with some fantasy and superhero elements. So that's on the way for 2019 as well. And then a few of my other stuff that I'm writing and drawing myself. More Terror stuff, which was my first book, is on the way as well. So yeah, there's a number of stuff coming as well.
2019, it's going to be the year of Shawn Daley.
Well, it'll be the year, all right. But we'll see.
It might be the year of the monkey, but I don't know what it is. But I'm calling it the year of Shawn Daley.
I'll take it.
We just narrowed down to the year of Shawn so that I'm including. I need some good stuff happening too. The year of Shawn. Let's make it happen.
The year of Shawn.
I'll take it.
Make it the SHAWN, Shawn's.
Yeah.
I was going to appreciate that he spelled his name correctly.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Because you both had a lot to say.
There's so many ways to spell Shawn.
I gotta catch up. There's quite a few questions before we go to Bob's plan here. Was there a variant to Ogre #1? I know there was a store variant that was limited like 100, right?
Well, there's been many variants actually. A lot of store variants. They're all store variants, but then now we have the Katie Cook second printing. So Ogre #1, we sold out 3,000 copies. And then we have a Katie Cook second printing cover that's actually available to order in shops right now. And I think the order code is NOV188074. And yeah, I mean, Katie Cook, a friend of Source Point Press, Travis McIntyre got in contact with her, and She did the cover of it. It's beautiful. So that's available. I think you can order it in comic shops from now until January 7th.
Good to know.
Yeah, make sure you guys get out there. Like I said, I put a whole bunch of links in our description so you guys can check out SourcePoint's website, these guys' stuff. It says some person. Oh, sorry. There's lots of questions. Did you guys expect this to be such a big hit?
I didn't. I don't know. I'm gonna let Shawn answer. I didn't. I mean, I thought it was gonna be good. You know, I knew it was gonna be good. I just didn't. I guess I didn't expect it to be selling out as fast. Like, I mean, issue 1 sold out within a week. I think issue 2 sold out in less than a week, and issue 3 sold out within 24 hours. And when I say, when we say sell out, we print 3,000 copies, which is, that's a lot of copies. And Diamond orders, when we put it out in previews, Diamond orders say 1,600. And then for Diamond to reorder after that, after that 1,600 goes out and we have 1,400 left, and then we get reorders from Diamond. We have people ordering it from the website. 3,000 copies in a week is like, it's pretty impressive. And I did not expect it to happen that fast. So, I mean, I knew the book was going to be an awesome book, beautiful book, but I just didn't expect this. And Shawn, I'll let you talk.
Yeah, no, I didn't expect it either. But when I read your first issue script and the layout for the entire book, I knew it would be good, and I was really excited to work on it. But yeah, I guess neither of us really expected this to happen.
And just to put it into perspective, I think it was like a week or two ago. Like I was, on Facebook, I was tagged on Facebook a thing where a guy put a screenshot down of Midtown Comics where they announced that they had, I think it was issue 2, that they had a reorder of issue 2, and they were limiting it to 1 copy per customer, which is pretty freaking awesome. I mean, for me, and I think for most people, Midtown Comics is like industry standard for comics. So for them to say, we ordered all these comics and you can only buy 1 Ogre #2, like that's pretty freaking ninja, like I was very excited about that.
I was just about to talk about the Midtown, because when issue 1 came out, like I've had this problem like every single time. Like I would like have this stuff, like I'd get on as soon as they have the new stuff up, and I'd be putting it into my cart. But by the time I would like check out my cart, like I missed out on Ogre 1, Ogre 2, because like by the time I hit I'm talking about, these are like within minutes that shit sold out, because like I hit, I purchased my order and it was like, we have to reevaluate your order because Ogre #1 is gone. Ogre #2 is gone. It's like, fuck.
Yeah, it's been pretty trippy. I mean, it's been pretty awesome.
Yeah, can I get a book?
Well, I ordered 1 and 2 directly from SourcePoint as soon as I saw they went up. So I just ordered multiple copies there because I know there's people that aren't going to get it, and we kind of do a community sharing thing. Like I got one guy up in Detroit, Brandon Stawinski. He's got #3 for me because I didn't see it on SourcePoint's website this morning.
It was gone. I mean, literally, it was on SourcePoint Press's website, I think, for probably like 12 hours.
Damn.
And then, so we had less than 100 left, and then Travis was like, "We just got to reorder from Diamond," and they took everything we had. So it was like,
it's awesome.
It is.
It's awesome.
The cool thing is, I mean, when you talk about royalties and everything, which you don't focus on that, but like you get less money when you're going through Diamond, but like that's like going through Diamond is like you don't care about that. You're like, you want Diamond to see the value in like the publisher. And so I was really excited to hear that Diamond was reordering issue 1, like 250 copies of issue 1, because that meant more stores were asking for more copies, and that's just like a broader reach. And you want, as a publisher, you want to have you really want to like have that store presence. Yeah,
that's there's a shop that's about an hour away from me, and I had picked up an extra copy of Ogre #1 that was the only one they had left on the shelf, and it was like a week after release. And I was like, oh, we'll go ahead and take that because there's going to be someone needing it. And then, I did the Midtown with number 2. I went ahead, even though I'd already ordered like 3 copies through SourcePoint, I went ahead and added the one per customer because I'm like, I better grab another one of those. Because I'm a collector, so I got all my ogres here. So, but we also share with each other, like I said, and I was just really surprised that 3. Because typically it's kind of cool. You touched on it. Is with a lot of say like Marvel type stuff, the print run gets lower and lower the further the series goes on based on sales. Yeah. So it is kind of nice to know you guys were consistent across the board. There's 3,000 copies of 1, 3,002, 3,003. So that's pretty cool. We got Shawn. There's a question for you from Samantha. She wants to know, how do you balance so many projects at once? Or either one of you, actually, I guess, because as a writer, we had Colin Bunn as a writer, and he writes a shit ton of stuff. So,
that's it's hard. You just have to, like, the easiest way to put it is just keep organized. I have a book that has all of my days kind of laid out for me over the course of the month with which project I'm working on during each day. And then obviously you have to slot in time that you're not accounting for to do projects that just come up out of nowhere. So yeah, it changes every week, but the best thing I can say is write it all down and stay organized and try and schedule it to the best of your ability.
Well, I'm going to write that down. For me, I mean, it's, I feel like as a writer, it might be different for an artist than a writer, because I think like you're invested in characters and you're invested in developing characters. So for me, I think with Ogre, knowing that, I was working with Shawn's artwork, I didn't want to work on anything else. Like I put everything, and by everything else, I mean, like I'm working on Salvagers. I have this web comic that I work on, and I stopped like production. I stopped writing on all of that stuff because I really wanted to focus all my energy and all my time on really going over what I was doing with Ogre. And I think for me doing that and seeing the end result, that made me realize like that for me as a writer, and it might be different for anybody else, I didn't want to spread myself thin over time anymore. So I think for me going forward, it's going to be one project at a time and not writing multiple projects, at the same, not like, Tuesday I'm writing this project, Wednesday I'm going to, go over here and I'm going to write this one. I really feel for me to succeed and to do well, to stick with one and see that through before I start another one. But we'll see. I mean, it's an ever-changing world, so.
That's right.
There was a question for you, Bob.
Right quick.
What's that?
I was just going to hit the chat right quick. We got Big E's from the New York Warriors in the chat. What's up, Big E's? Thanks for joining us. We got my boy, Pope C. And we got the man who we bragged about earlier, Mr. Comics with Bueller. And he just wanted to say thanks for a great book. He said Ogre was in his top 10 new comic studios more than once.
Oh, great.
That's amazing. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a well-received book in our community. That's for dang sure. I can't even give you guys enough credit for that. Brandon Stawinski asked, what can you say about Salvagers without giving too much away, and how much were you involved with it? Which, I mean, you did. I mean, obviously, I supported the Kickstarter. I think I did the whole 10 issues or whatever was available. I can't remember exactly. I support a lot of Kickstarters.
Thank you. No, Kickstarters is great. I mean, that's the way us indie people get out there, and it's like a online flea market. Salvagers is that's my baby. I created it. I started conceptualizing it back in 2001 when I was writing prose, and I hit some writer's block, and I just came up with this idea of a garbage, a kind of like a garbage company that sends different crews out there. So Salvagers is the thing that kind of launched me into writing comic books. And the way I look at Salvagers, the love relationship that I have with Salvagers is probably like that high school sweetheart that you met when you were young, and you didn't really know what you were doing, and you kind of like left it and you came back to it, and but you never really left it, and then your relationship grew with it, and you started to understand how to appreciate something better, and make something flourish more. So I think over the time that I've spent writing Salvagers and being around it, I've learned how to write comics. I've learned how to produce comics. So I guess if anything, like Salvagers is filled with all the mistakes I've made in my writing career, and and I think like hopefully because it's just my fun sci-fi adventure series, it's the reason why Ogre is probably better than anything I ever wrote. Because had I wrote Ogre like right out of the gate, all my mistakes would have been in that. But because like I just had fun with Salvagers, and through the course of that time, I was able to learn how to do pacing and develop characters. So I love Salvagers, and I don't ever plan on stopping writing Salvagers. Right now, I'm actually looking for other teams within Source Point Press, which we have a one-shot called Contagion that's available right now, where I found a horror writer, David Hayes, and matched him with Stan Yak, and the two of them wrote their own. So for me, it's kind of like blowing up the franchise, if you will, for Salvagers. But Salvagers is it's a fun sci-fi adventure series where they are just coworkers, and we can relate to them because they're doing a job that they hate, and they're doing it with people that they can't stand. So, but they need to go out there and do it and make a buck.
So, Andy wanted to know if you could tell him a little bit about the Salvagers one-shot that's available on Source Point Press.
Yeah, so Salvagers one-shot is called Salvagers Contagion, and it follows a kind of down-on-your-luck kind of picker crew that they get this job through, actually, and that's the kind of crossover to the main, the original characters. They get this job, and when they, not to give too much away, when they go onto this job, they're met with, I don't want to call it a symbiote, but they're met with this thing that kind of wants to take over them to be free.
A parasite.
And there you go. And but one of the things when we were writing it, I wanted to keep it linked to the universe. So when David and Hayes and I were talking about it, and I edited it, I was like, it would be great if the Graxons, which Brigby, I wish I had some puppets all the way over there. Brigby is like the little green guy, and when you read Salvagers, Graxons are kind of like all over the place. And just a little backstory on Graxons: they were a slave species, and they were multiplied so they could do more work. And then once they were freed, they're all over the universe, and they struggle to find work. So this one science lab has all these Graxons on it, and they all get kind of taken over. So it's kind of like The Walking Dead, but like they're all Graxons attacking this crew. It's really cool. Stan Yak is an amazing artist. If you go on my Facebook page, you'll see some artwork there, or my Instagram page. Stan Yak does a beautiful job. Reggie is the colorist, and David Hayes is an amazing writer. He can really write some horror. So I think for him, kind of melding horror and sci-fi was he did a really beautiful job with it. I don't want to say beautiful job. He did a really horrific job in a beautiful way.
A horrible job in a beautiful way.
Yeah.
Nice.
Let's see. Benjamin Maine.
Benjamin Maine. Benjamin Maine, Black Cape Comics.
He's said you're an amazing man as much as a writer.
Thank you,
Benjamin.
Benjamin.
And he has Master 80. He has a couple questions for Bob and Shawn.
Benjamin, I'm PayPaling you right now for that.
He wants to know, who are your biggest influences in comics? A big two book you guys would like to work on together, and favorite comics you read this year. He says, thanks, Jordan.
For me, Rick Remender is my biggest. Like I love Rick Remender's writing. I think I've read everything that he's written. He's just it's almost like everything you write is a different book, and then he just has a different way of writing characters in each one, and the artists that he works with in each one just like separates him from all of them. A book
That's
that
a
I
good
like.
choice. He was a sneaky bastard this last year. He released a few books, I think, that like he didn't even say what he was releasing, and just kind of snuck him out.
For me, he's the GOAT, man. I think he's awesome. Him and Jonathan Hickman.
Oh yeah, good choices.
Yeah, I'm a big Rick Remender fan. Tokyo Ghost and Deadly Class, of course, are two of my favorite books. Period.
I mean, I got into it was Fear Agent really was what got me in, and I mean I left comics for years, and then Fear Agent got me back into it, and then I can't remember the name of it, but he wrote something before Fear Agent where it was a guy that went like he was in a suit that like went, it was big, and the more power that it went, it would go like there was I can't remember it. I don't want to waste the time trying to think of it, but when I read that, it was like. It was even like when you read like Robert Hickman stuff where he's got that dinosaur robot with the kid, and you just like it's kind of endearing to see these guys that are just amazing right now. And you read their earlier stuff, and it's not as amazing as they are now, but it's still really good. And it just like inspires you because you're just like these guys were just born good. And then they just had to figure out how to do it right. So those are, Shawn, I'll let you go.
For influences, I think guys like Jeff Lemire and Matt Kint and cartoonists like those guys. But then also like Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball, has been a huge influence. I studied his work a lot last year while I was doing Samurai Grandpa. And then also Jim Davis, the creator of Garfield. I grew up reading those strips, so his cartooning style was a huge influence on me when I first started.
I gotta say, just as you talk about Dragon Ball, there was just to peer off into a moment of creating issue 3. The collaboration that Shawn and I had. There's a moment in volume 3 or in issue 3 where there's a fight scene between the ogre and the trolls, and Shawn, I don't want to show anybody right now, but I'm just looking at it for my own person. But Shawn he sent me a screenshot of this Dragon Ball Z thing, and he's like, I want to do something like this. And I personally never was like, I never got into Dragon Ball Z, but when you're working with somebody like Shawn and like this is on issue 3, and you just start realizing like whatever you want to do, like I don't want to handcuff you. Like if you want to do that, do it. And when he did it, and I just looked at it again, and you'll see it. If you're a Dragon Ball Z fan, I imagine when you get to that part, you're gonna be like, "That's what he was talking about."
Shit, now I have to ask. Shawn, who's your favorite Dragon Ball Z character?
Pretty cool.
Oh, Vegeta.
So funny.
Yes!
Yeah.
I'm not a Dragon Ball person, but I am an anime person. So cool. I know, like for me, when as I told you off air, kind of got my own project going, but I wrote a scene like that where it's very in the vein of that anime. Like you'll know it when you see it if you're an anime fan, because you'll be like, that was the influence there. And thankfully, the artist I have, she is kind of a bit of in that her style is very similar to like manga style, but not like full on manga style, but she has that she can go down that road if need be. So it's kind of funny that you said that with the Dragon Ball thing, because I was like, I wonder if anyone would catch it, because I don't know how much anime and comics mash together, because I'm finding it not a whole lot in this community, or at least no one's coming out saying, hey, I'm an anime fan. I'm just over here in the corner by myself. So,
oh no, awesome, man. I think the two clash together very well, because I mean, like, you got your manga, which like ends up translating into anime. I think it's a hand thing.
Yeah, you think it would be?
I'm a damn '80s kid, so like, when I was a kid, I was just looking at a lot of the stuff that I was watching was just cartoons. But I come to find out, like a huge majority of the cartoons that I was watching was actually anime, and I just wasn't, educated enough because I didn't care. I just loved cartoons. And when I got older,
anime just
Dragon
makes
Ball.
it sound better.
It does. It does.
What are you doing tonight? I'm watching cartoons. What are you doing tonight? I'm watching anime. Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
That's a nice
This guy's
Chianti.
So Brandon said, he said mistakes, question mark. This is going back to you, Bob. He said he just bought the trade paperback. I'm assuming for maybe something that we talked about earlier. Salvagers. Keep up the great work. So speaking of trade paperbacks, you sent me a whole bunch of links earlier today. I was just kind of touch on. I know I didn't put every individual link to like previews and stuff in there, but I did put your store envy for Source Point, so that there you guys have a promotion going with that Contagion right now.
Yeah, right now you can order Contagion. It's our Christmas gift pack. You can order Contagion and Volume 1 and Volume 2 of Salvagers. You also get number 1, Rot number 1, which is David Hayes' story, all for $35.
Nice. So yeah, if you guys go ahead and click on those links when you get time tonight after the show, whatever. If you're watching this on the rewind, like a lot of you will, just go over there, click on those links, support these guys, support the cause. Because I, because of Ogre, I started going through Source Point. I picked up Viking Queen, the one shot. I'm a huge sucker for Vikings. Anything to do with Vikings, I don't know why. I'm freaking, I'm all in it. So I'm looking forward to read that. That was a one shot too, but.
It's actually they're doing it's a one shot, but Paul's story is actually he's going to continue the story with other one shots of the same character.
Oh, okay.
So Viking Queen 2 is coming.
All right. Well, I'll be excited because like I said, there's an Image book I read called Sword Daughter. It's a Viking book. I read that every month. I love that book. But yeah, super excited. I threw that in there in my cart when I got Ogre 2. I was like, yeah, I better head and add this in. There was another one you guys had that was, or Source Point had. Was it called like Monstrous or
Monstrous?
Yeah.
Yeah, Monstrous is huge. That's Greg Wright, and it's a steampunk universe where Frankenstein's monster. Was it Frankenstein's monster with steampunk robots? Where they're fighting for the world. But yeah, Monstrous is awesome. It's a really good story.
All right, my kid's awfully loud. I don't want to make sure you guys can hear him crying. He's on digging bedtime.
I was just glad that we got biggies from New York Warriors, like blasted off all the different Dragon Ball Z final finishing moves.
There's Brandon again said he picked up Misplaced by Source Point.
Yeah, Misplaced is that's like very it's very Sandman style book. It's pretty cool. It's about a guy. It's about basically a love story where these two people die and one goes to the afterlife and the other one's got to find his love.
Right on. There's I'm gonna answer a couple things in the chat really quick. So Samantha, there's two different Monstresses. There's Monstrous from Image Comics, which is I think Marguerite Bennett and Tanaka, and then you got Monstress, which is like monster. This is from Source Point. So yeah, Andy says there's what's it called? Sears? How do you say that? Sears? Another Viking? Sears?
Yeah, Casey Hayes. Casey Pierce. She just finished that. That was actually a Kickstarter, but I think you can order it. There's got to be a link somewhere where you can order it.
Well, I'll have to go.
And that's like a Viking, kind of like a Viking supernatural story as well. She's a sick chick. She can write some graphic stuff. I helped put the show. If she was listening right now, she'd appreciate it. But yeah, I helped put that Kickstarter together, and I saw a lot of the artwork, and it was like just kind of like, where do you come up with this shit?
I'm just laughing because I thought JP was going, that's the it.
I tell you, I always reference the time I met Clive Barker as a 16-year-old kid, and I was like, he goes, he did all these paintings and all these awful, awful images, and I'm like, that came out of that guy's head, man. I don't know if I need to go. Like it's amazing, like when you get to express yourself in a creative way, and it's okay.
Dude, I'm jealous. I'm jealous that you have to be Clive Barker.
Well, I was a kid that didn't really appreciate it. I just got a book signed from my mom and called it good, So
Should have known.
let's see here. So what is as far as like for you, Bob? What's your level of involvement with SourcePoint? Are you like just I don't say just a writer, but like is that your role? Do you have like a bigger role with SourcePoint that I'm not aware of?
I mean, right now I'm writing with them and I do some editing for them. And I work with Travis McIntyre's editor in chief. Josh Warner is the art director, and I try to work with them and offer as much help as I can with the time that I have. If that role turns into something bigger, then so be it. I would love to make comics my full-time job, whether it's writing comics or being on the other side with the editing and developing of stories. So we'll see. I do my first love is always going to be writing, but I think also as my career goes on, I would love to come up with develop stories and come up with concepts and offer them up to other writers and edit those with other writers. SourcePoint has a lot of stuff coming up in the pipeline, and hopefully in 2019, if not 2020, that should keep us all pretty busy.
Well, I can tell you for myself. I told you off air. I'll be at C2E2. There's actually about 20 of us in this community that are sharing a house up in Chicago for that weekend. So it's going to be a pretty big deal. And I know you may not be there, but SourcePoint will be there in some capacity. So. Any people in that area, make sure if you guys go up to a convention, because I know it's kind of downtime right now for conventions, and it'll fire back up in the spring, of course. But yeah, just make sure you guys hit up their booth and see what's out there, because there's a ton of great product, like you said, coming down the pipeline, already in the pipeline, etc. So just make sure we all right. Did we lose Bob?
No.
You all right?
Sorry about that.
You okay?
No, I thought I heard my kid crying, but I think it's my wife listening to TV in the back room.
She's crying.
She's crying. That 20 people to a house, that sounds like a party house. That sounds awesome. So what you guys need to do is you guys need to have an after party there.
We plan to. I have I don't know if you're familiar with any artist named Sora Thong.
Oh yeah.
Her Jen Broomall, she was on our show recently. We're gonna have a ladies' night. I don't know how I work into that, but I figure I'll make it work.
Sora, I'll tell you what, man, if you have Sora Song coming, that's all you need.
Yeah,
she'll bring the party.
She will. She's something else.
She'll bring her dog. I'm sure she'll bring her dogs. So.
I love Pepper. He's adorable. I've spent a lot of time with Sora. She would be probably my go-to person in the comic book world with any questions I have. I pick her brain all the time for stuff. She was gracious to me in Seattle this year. I went to my first convention, and since I was 16, was in Seattle. Went to ECC or whatever. ECCCCCCC, however many C's you want to add to it. But that's an amazing convention. A little overwhelming if it's your first time going to a convention, in 20 plus years. But it was awesome. She made it awesome for me, so it was cool. But I know you said you're going to be at Planet Comic Con. Is that Planet Kansas City, right?
Kansas City.
Yeah. So that's coming up in what, March?
March, yeah. It's I think it's the week before C2E2, and that's why I won't be at C2E2.
Yeah.
Try to juggle as many things as you possibly can, and working with SourcePoint Press, we have a convention schedule where it's just trying to put bodies at conventions. One of the reasons why I really love SourcePoint Press, I really wanted to join them, was I knew that they did like 60 plus conventions a year. And we're talking like going from like New York Comic Con all the way down to like a one-day convention
Sure.
at like a library. But that's, you know, Travis McIntyre's whole philosophy is the best way you could sell a book is by going, you know, being in front of somebody, putting your book in their hands, and, you know, talking about your book. So, you know, that philosophy just really like held water with me, because I was like, that's where I want to be. Like, if these guys are that committed to being at that many shows, then I want my book to be on those tables. And then seeing the creators that are out there doing it, you know, the road warriors that are out there just going to all these shows, you know, you're not just trying to sell your book. And that's one of the things that I love about the whole team at Source Point Press. You know, if somebody comes to me and I'm trying to sell them a sci-fi book and they say, oh, you know what, I like horror, I'm not going to say like, all right, well, have a good day. I'm going to immediately like show them the horror books we have. And just like, you know, somebody that has a horror book, if somebody's like, I'm more into sci-fi, you know, they're not going to just pass the person off. Like, they're going to bring them over and they're going to say, oh, we have. So it's all about selling, you know, the books, not just your book. And, you know, there's a lot of small press publishers out there that I felt like had their own title, you know, through their publisher. And, you know, when I met Travis and I met everybody there, like, Travis is very geared toward being the best publisher he can be. He's not trying to peddle, you know, his story. He's trying to push his company. So that was, for me, I was like, that's it. Like, that's where I want to be.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's all about the people, right? So it's not so much about. I mean, yeah, you got good product that makes it easier, but you know, just having that nice team. You know, we kind of we've had the privilege, Pope and I have, of interviewing a lot of smaller press books this year, from CBI Press to Mad Cave Comics, which are just kind of on the scene recently as well. Just one guy kind of doing his own thing, but you know, and the general consensus I'm learning with these smaller presses is very much almost like a family, if you will. You know, it's very, you know, everyone is in it together. It's not necessarily, oh my gosh, you know, Ogre didn't do as well as I thought it would do. You know, and you're going, you know, obviously it did, but I'm just saying in general, it is, you don't get that vibe that it's not about the individual's book as much as it's about the collective group, you know, offerings. So that's always cool to see. And I think, you know, again, I told you guys I'm an indie guy, and I think that's probably a large portion of why I'm the way I am when it comes to comics and the story. I always find that independent stories are they're not manufactured stories. You know, they're not characters that you're handcuffed with, where you can't have your own voice. You know, let's say if someone gave you like, hey, Bob, I need you to write this new X-Men story, but here's all your guidelines. It's not really going to be your story, right? It's going to be you writing a story that you're kind of directed to write.
Yeah.
At least that's how I see it.
Times, you know, what I love about indie is like you don't have to conform to a certain universe. You don't have to. You own your own universe. You don't have to like you can't do that because Cyclops did this and this. You know. You can't do, you know, you're not dictated these rules because of like a whole different universe. Because, you know, you can write your, you know, whatever character you want. You can make them do whatever you want them to do without them impacting a universe that like involves all these other characters that other writers and other, you know, artists are working on. So I think it's a great freedom that you guys have. And I applaud you for writing a good story and, you know, making a cool universe that, you know, we're all enjoying.
Well, thank you very much.
And now that I've jumped in there, I'm surprised nobody in the chat has even asked, but is it possible for us to ask Shawn what he's doing, and can we get a sneak peek at that?
Yeah, sure. This is another Ogre variant cover. It's in the works right now. Let me see if I can get a decent shot. I just had to scan it into Photoshop. And I'm just tossing a layer of color on it right now.
That's right down my alley. That's some Hellraiser shit right there.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what's happening with that right now.
Sorry, I sounded like a redneck, but shit right there, boy.
That would be my neck of the woods. We're all spread across. Like I'm in Texas. Pope is in Kentucky. You guys in Toronto and Boston. So hey, we're all spread across.
That's
The
it.
power of the internet, folks. It's there. It's a real thing.
It's real.
Thank you, Al Gore. One, I was going to mention a couple things earlier. The trade paperback for Ogre. Did you? I can't remember if you sent that to me earlier. Is it in previews already, or going to be coming up in previews?
It'll be in previews in January.
January. Okay, I knew there was something about it, but you shared a lot of information with me today, so I'm like,
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys look for that. I saw someone mention earlier, like, oh, I'm always missing out on those books. I harp on this 1,000 times. Go to your shop, get a previews, and go through it. I don't know how everyone's LCS does it, but I go through my previews. I go from, I don't even look at Marvel or DC. I just go strictly all the independent books. I go page per page. I write down. I submit my list to my LCS, and I watch it rain in the coming months. So I know, like, people were like, oh, I missed this book or I missed this book. I literally go through independent books, like anything that I think would interest me. If it's going to interest me, it's going to interest others. I know that about the independent world. If I really feel that if you're into independent books, it's all about the story. It's fun to see these books, and it's cool when you see something take off like Ogre or Rags or Knights of the Golden Sun, which was from Mad Cave Comics. It's cool to see those books get hot and I guess I don't say grow in the secondary market. I'm not really concerned about the secondary market necessarily, but it's just cool because there are such limited print runs. You guys aren't mass producing 20,000 copies a month of anything, right? I mean, I don't know Source Point's numbers, but I doubt their collective probably doesn't reach that much. I mean, it's cool. It's collectible, I guess what I'm getting at. So, you guys,
when you find a book that you love in the indie independent world, you want that book to succeed, and so that's why I love this YouTube community, is because by word of mouth you can direct people into like books they didn't know existed, or you can help them find a way to get those books that they missed, that because when they hit the shelves they just fucking disappeared. And I mean, that's what I love about it. That's what I love about everything about this community. And I love these independent books. I love these independent comic book creators. Man, I don't know. It's just really good. I'm just a huge fan of it all. And I'm glad you guys are doing what you're doing. Thank you for coming on the show. This is phenomenal and fantastic, man. So thanks again, guys, for sharing your time with us.
Well, thank you.
Anytime.
Yeah. I'm glad that Shawn could make it too, because it's always great to have the writer and the artist together on there. I feel absolutely. Like when I did Salvagers, I never was able to do that because it was just like the artists were all over the world, and it was just trying to coordinate that was just so hard. So it's fun to actually think. We haven't actually been at a convention yet where we've had our book. So once that happens, that'll be fun.
That will be fun. That'll be cool.
You're not gonna have any books to sell.
I'm going to Wizard World New Orleans, and I said I said to the guys at Source Point, I was like, am I going to New Orleans with just Salvagers? Like so they are. There's second print. There's going to be second printings of Ogre that I'll be able to sell there. So that'll be fun. It'll be fun to have, like, I think as a writer and as a creator, when you have a new book, you're at a convention and it's a new year. It's like that's your goal, is to have a new book each year to sell, to keep yourself relevant. So I'm looking forward to 2019. I think it's going to be a big year for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I have to say, just because I we keep a pulse on the industry, obviously, but I can't recall a time where I've seen so many independent books take off so fast. Like, I mean, just in the past few months. I mean, just say last 6 months in particular, it's just every week it's like another hot independent book that someone's talking about. You got the Grumble with the Eric Powell's doing some stuff. There's Albatross Comics like it's just amazing. All these different small indie stuff is taking off. So it's good for me. It's good to see because we'll keep doing our thing, supporting you guys, supporting the small press community, if you will, and we'll go from there. But if you guys have any last questions you want to throw it in the chat really quick before we take off tonight, have at it. Bob's got a curfew. He's like, you bastard. I don't know what Black Cape Comics is, but it says they still have some copies of issue 1 and 3 at regular print, and all 3 are exclusive.
Damn.
Does that sound familiar? I don't know.
Right, yeah, I think that's Black Cape Comics exclusive cover, I think.
Let's see some art. He already showed some art, man. He just showed the new cover for Ogre he's working on. So, you'll have to watch it. You have to rewind it a little bit and check it out. Bob can show you some teasers there for those who haven't got number 3.
Look at. Do I have to talk for my screen to come on?
I got it. Clicked on you.
Yeah, there you go. There's some beautiful Shawn Daley artwork right there. This is actually one of my favorite scenes. One of my favorite scenes in the whole book is
that a fairy?
The pixie scene, yeah.
Pixie, what the heck? I didn't see it. Oh, I can't wait for number 3, man.
Yeah, but to get back to, I mean, like I think like when it started blowing up like that and everything, I think I don't know if this is a normal feeling, but I think anxiety started to raise a little bit because you're thinking like, I hope people like it, and luckily, I mean, so far I haven't heard any negative feedback from it, which is great. I think once you start hearing people tell you suck, and that's when like that you've made it. But so far I haven't made it. So it's just been really positive feedback. Obviously, everybody loves the artwork, but people are loving the story, and so it's kind of a relief. And I think now with issue 3 out, people, and there's going to be like an ending. It's going to be interesting to see, to talk to people and hear feedback on the book as a whole, not just in its parts.
Sure. Well, I think what surprised me about Ogre was
I'm just excited for you guys because you guys this is this is a story you just threw out there, and you have no idea how you're going to receive it. And man, I just applaud you, man, because that to me, I'm excited for you guys because this is just an extraordinary thing that to throw out a cool story with cool artwork and then to watch it just bloom out there and to receive such good reviews, man, I'm happy for you guys. It's an awesome book, and you guys should be proud of yourselves,
Thank you.
I know you say you don't think you made it until someone tells you suck. That only happens when ego comes in, That's when you made it because the money's whatever you want to out there. That's when you hear that you suck. It's you're just oh, I'm just gonna throw this out there because whatever.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think that'll ever happen. It's. I think it's. You have too much pride in yourself.
Riding one of the big 2, you're gonna be vice president for DC.
Yeah, I'll take. I'll take vice president of Source Point Press.
There you go. So someone had asked before I let you guys go and we get off here, but I know I missed a question earlier, and it was kind of for both of you guys. Was not necessarily a dream project, but is there is there a mainstream character that you would like to write or do art or a book that you'd like to work on as something that is mainstream versus your own projects?
Go ahead, Shawn.
Well, that's a hard question. I don't know if this would be considered mainstream. I'm going to say it is. I would love to do a single issue of Black Hammer, like Jeff Lemire's
Sure.
Superhero. Sorry.
Nice.
That would be so much fun.
Very awesome.
So, who knows?
Interesting.
Mhm.
No Superman for you, huh?
I would love to write. I grew up. I was a huge Iron Man fan, and I loved the complexity of Tony Stark. And so I'd probably would, like, from my childhood, I'd probably be like, I'd love to, write an Iron Man.
That makes sense. I mean,
Club. All right.
I've thought about this question a lot, and I have an answer, but I can't talk about it right now. But anyways, you do know the answer. So this is Ogre number 1, and I tell you, one of the things that drew me in was the unexpected humor. I can tell you, I literally laughed out loud when they're in the cell, and he's talking to the ghost, and the guy's like, "Just stop talking to it," and I literally just. Because I'm picturing this guy, because all he sees is what this guy's taken to a corpse, and I literally laugh because you can tell he's just creeped out by the whole idea of this guy just having a conversation with this dead body that he's chained to, and it just made me laugh. Sorry, I just love that particular scene.
Oh, thank you. I think we really did do a good job, and through the editing process, and again, Shawn's art complementing with the writing and everything. The story is funny. It's yanks at your heartstrings. It's got action in it. I think it just covers everything.
Yeah, when I read the script, when Bob first sent it, the first thing I thought was oh, this is a very honest story. It has a lot of emotion. It has a lot of interesting concepts that might differ from reader to reader. So I was really looking forward to hearing how people might interpret the characters in the story after reading it.
Well, I like the kind of social injustices that kind of are touched on there, because it is real, and that it did play in realism in a fantasy setting, if you will. So
Right.
it's well done. So yeah, and with that being said, guys, I can't thank you enough for giving us time out of your night to hang out with us. Took us a while to get it organized, but here we are.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah, and we'll have to. I'm sure that if you need more, there's constant well of creators that would love to be on this show. So it's a thank you for having us.
Yeah,
absolutely. We are, like I said, we're always inviting people on. Just anything we can do to promote the product. That's what we're all about. And it was really super awesome that you got Shawn on with me tonight, or with us tonight. When you messaged me that, I was like, hell yeah, man, let's do this.
Doesn't hurt to ask.
No, not at all.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, well, hope everyone out there in the community has a great night, a good weekend. Go support these guys, follow the links that I provided, and we'll see you guys next week. Have a Merry Christmas. Shit, we won't be back until the 27th, so you guys have a Merry Christmas. That's not true. We got the auction on the 26th. Sorry, auction night 26th. Still, have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Andy's a liar.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye. Thank you.